All right, so have you guys heard about these crazy Google Maps and Google Earth updates?
Yeah, it's pretty wild what they're doing these days.
They're not messing around. This isn't like your usual software update, adding a new font or whatever.
Right.
This is like next level stuff. It's almost like they cracked the code on time travel.
Yeah, in a way.
But instead of like a phone booth or a DeLorean, they're using algorithms and satellite images to rewind the clock.
It's pretty remarkable what they've accomplished.
It really is.
Basically, they've gone and created this living, breathing archive of our planet.
And it's not just for like scientists and researchers. Anyone can use it.
Right, exactly. It's incredibly user-friendly.
Yeah, you can literally go back in time, see how places have changed over the decades.
Like take San Francisco's waterfront, for example.
Oh, yeah.
You can watch it transform before your eyes. From this, I don't know, kind of gritty industrial shipping hub
I see it.
to the, you know, bustling tourist destination it is today, all with a few clicks.
That's amazing.
It's not just limited to, famous landmarks either.
Oh, really?
They've applied this, what do they call it? The time machine feature, I think,
Right.
to tons of locations all over the world with imagery going back decades.
That's incredible. Like, what could you do with that? I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like, for an urban planner, that'd be invaluable.
Oh, absolutely.
Seeing how a city has developed over time.
The practical applications are huge. Like, imagine being able to trace the growth of cities,
Yeah. Yeah.
the impact of infrastructure projects, maybe analyze the effectiveness of different urban planning approaches, see what worked, what didn't.
Wow. So it's not just about looking back, it's about like planning for the future.
Exactly.
That's incredible. It's
Yeah.
like having a cheat sheet for designing better cities, more livable cities.
Absolutely, more sustainable cities.
And it's not all about urban landscapes, right? You can see the effects of climate change too.
Oh, absolutely.
I was reading about Lake Oroville in California.
Yeah, yeah.
You can actually see the water level shrink over years of drought and then rebound after they had that heavy rainfall. It's like really eye-opening.
It is, and that's the power of this technology. It takes these global issues, things we hear about but maybe don't fully grasp, and it makes them tangible.
Right,
A
right.
visual, impossible to ignore.
Absolutely. And speaking of seeing the bigger picture, that's where Google Earth's time-lapse feature comes in.
Right, right.
Now, this is different from the time machine thing, which lets you jump to specific years, right? With time-lapse, we're talking about watching the flow of change over time smoothly,
Exactly.
like a video almost.
Precisely. Time-lapse takes millions of satellite images captured over decades and stitches them together to create these, well, they're like time-lapse movies of the planet.
Oh, wow.
You can see deforestation patterns in the Amazon, the rate at which the polar ice caps are shrinking. It's pretty amazing and a little scary, to be honest.
It's one thing to read about the ice caps melting and stuff, but to actually see it happening, sped up like that,
Right.
it really hits you differently.
It does. It makes it real.
And it's not just about the environment, right?
Mm.
Seeing those changes over time, you can really get a sense of the impact, I don't know, of human activity in general.
Absolutely. It's a powerful tool for understanding that, for sure.
Like you can see cities expanding, forests shrinking.
Exactly.
It's kind of humbling in a way.
It is. And, speaking of seeing things clearly,
Yeah.
Google Earth also has this new AI-powered feature, Cloud Score Plus.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. That's the one that removes clouds from the images, right?
Exactly. It's amazing.
It's like magic. Like, how do they even do that?
Well, it's pretty complicated. They're using a type of AI called generative adversarial networks.
Oh, wow, I've heard of those. JANs, right?
Yeah, GANs, exactly.
But I don't really understand how they work.
So basically, they train these networks on huge data sets of images.
Okay.
And the GANs learn to identify and reconstruct the parts of the images that are obstructed.
So they're not just blurring things out or something.
No, it's much more sophisticated than that.
Oh, wow.
They're actually filling in the gaps using the information they've learned from all those other images.
That's incredible. So it's like creating a whole new image, but based on real data.
Exactly.
That's so cool. And I bet it's super useful for researchers and stuff who need clear images.
Absolutely. Think about it. If you're trying to track deforestation, for example,
Yeah.
and there are clouds in the way, you can't see what's happening on the ground.
Right.
But with this technology, they can remove the clouds and get a clear view of the forest.
That's amazing. It's like having X-ray vision for the planet.
In a way, yeah, it's all about getting a clearer picture of what's really going on.
And making sure we don't miss anything important.
Exactly.
Wow. And you know what else is really cool?
What's that?
They've also massively expanded Google Street View.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't heard about that.
80 new countries. Can you believe it?
Wow, 80. That's amazing.
I know, right? They have this new camera now. It's super lightweight, so they can take it pretty much anywhere.
Oh, cool.
They're mounting it on cars, boats, even people's backs.
Wow, that's impressive.
You can explore remote villages in Bosnia, the mountains of Namibia, even go inside European castles.
All from your computer.
Yeah, it's
Huh?
like having a virtual passport to the world.
That's amazing, especially these days when, traveling is so expensive.
I know, right? And with this, you can explore the world from your couch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really opening up the world for people.
It's pretty incredible.
It really is.
And that's not all. Google Maps itself is getting some pretty big upgrades too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
They're really leaning into the AI stuff, but it's not just about finding the nearest gas station anymore.
huh.
We're talking about like personalized recommendations, almost like having a personal assistant for your day.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's like imagine, instead of just telling you where things are,
Right.
it actually helps you plan your day. Like it takes into account what you like, how much you want to spend,
Oh, wow.
even the weather. Can you believe that?
That's pretty wild. So, like, it'll tell you to stay inside if it's raining.
Yeah, exactly. Like say it's a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And it's pouring rain.
Okay.
And you're like, "Ugh, what am I going to do today?"
Right.
So you open up Google Maps, and instead of just showing you a map, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I know you love museums, and there's this new exhibit opening today. And it's right next to that bookstore you've been wanting to check out. And by the way, there's a great coffee shop around the corner.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it's not just random. It's like it knows you.
So it's taking into account your past searches and stuff.
Exactly. Like if you always go to the same cafe or you're always looking for bookstores,
Oh, that's really smart.
it'll remember that and suggest things based on your actual interests.
That's way better than just getting a list of the closest restaurants or whatever.
Right. It's like having a personal concierge in your pocket.
It really is. Like, who needs a travel agent when you have Google Maps, right?
I know, right? And it's not just the AI stuff. The whole design of Google Maps is getting an upgrade, too.
Oh, really? What are they doing?
It's a lot cleaner now,
Oh.
Everything's laid out in these cards. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but it just makes it easier to find what you're looking for.
Oh, I see. More user-friendly.
Exactly. It's like they took something that was already really good
Yeah.
and they made it even better somehow.
That's impressive. They're not messing around with these updates.
I know, right? And to think, this is just the beginning,
What do you mean?
Like, AI is just getting started, right? Who knows what Google Maps will be able to do in a few years?
That's a good point. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. It's like we're living in the future.
I know, right? Well, I think we've covered just about everything today. From time travel to AI cloud removal, personalized recommendations. It's been quite a ride through the world of Google Earth and Maps.
It really has. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how accessible they've made all this incredible technology.
Absolutely. You don't have to be a scientist or a tech expert to appreciate it.
Exactly. Anyone can open up Google Earth and explore the world, see how it's changed over time, and learn something new.
And with these new features, it's only going to get more exciting from here.
I can't wait to see what they come up with next.
Me neither. That's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another look at the ever-evolving world of tech and how it's shaping our lives. Ever get that feeling looking at old photos? Like, wow, how'd it been so long?
Yeah, totally.
Google Earth just took that to a whole new level. We're talking decades of change you can actually see.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And when you dig into what they're doing with AI and all these old images, it's kind of revolutionary.
Okay, so let's talk about this whole time machine thing, because honestly, it sounds like something out of science fiction.
Right, so they're basically using this huge archive of images for Google Earth and Maps.
Right.
And with it, you can actually see how places have changed over time. Like we're talking going as far back as the 1930s for some locations.
So this isn't just like seeing my childhood home. I could see how my entire neighborhood developed over time.
Yeah. And think about the possibilities. Urban planners looking at a city's growth, figuring out what worked, what didn't. Environmentalists could track deforestation, like actually see it happening year after year, not just the end result.
That's what's so powerful about this, right? It's one thing to read about, say, Lake Oroville drying up, but the article talked about how you can actually see the water level dropping over time with Time Machine.
Yeah, it kind of hits you on a different level when you see it like that. Makes it much more real.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. But this is more like 1,000 pictures showing us the story of our planet.
And that's where the time-lapse feature comes in.
Oh, yeah. What's the deal with that?
Imagine all those changes from Time Machine condensed into a short video, glaciers receding, cities sprawling outward. It's crazy.
So cool. It's like getting a glimpse of the really big picture, the kind of changes you wouldn't even notice day to day.
Exactly. It really highlights how dynamic our planet is and how much we're impacting it.
I gotta admit, I'm kind of tempted to just fire up Google Earth now and get lost in it all. What was a time lapse that really stuck with you?
Seeing the Amazon rainforest shrink over the past few decades is incredibly impactful. It's one thing to read about deforestation, but to actually witness the sheer scale of it happening in time lapse, it hits you on a different level.
No kidding. It makes it all feel much more real, much more urgent. But it's not just about looking back, right? Google's also using AI to change how we see the world today. And for anyone who's ever been frustrated by a blurry Google Earth image, this next part is for you. I don't know how many times I tried to use Google Earth. Like, there was this one spot I wanted to see, and every single time, cloud cover. Every time.
Yeah, I feel you. Cloud cover has always been the bane of satellite imagery.
But this whole Cloud Score Plus thing seems like they found a way around that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Basically, they trained an AI on a ridiculous number of images.
Like, how many are we talking?
Way
Millions.
more than that. And now it can actually tell the difference between a cloud and, say, snow on a mountain. The result is way clearer images in Google Earth.
Okay, but how does it actually work? Like, is it literally just removing clouds from the images?
It's more than just removing them. The AI understands what it's looking at, so it can distinguish between different types of surfaces and atmospheric conditions. Makes the data way more accurate, too.
So for researchers, this has got to be a game changer, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Think about anything involving satellite imagery. Tracking deforestation, monitoring the effects of natural disasters, it all just getting a whole lot easier and more reliable.
It's amazing how central AI is to everything these days.
Yeah.
And this isn't just about seeing the world as it is. The article also talked about how they're using AI to personalize how we experience it, especially with travel.
Oh yeah, the generative AI stuff in Google Maps.
That's the one. So instead of just pulling up a map, what can we expect?
Imagine opening Maps and it's already recommending places you might like, based on your interest, your budget, even if it's raining that day.
Okay, that's cool. No more endless scrolling through restaurant
Oh,
reviews.
exactly. It's like having a personal travel agent in your pocket.
I like the sound of that. But looking beyond these Google updates, the article hinted at some even bigger stuff happening in the AI world.
Yeah, for sure. And it has to do with the crazy amount of processing power all this AI requires.
This is where things got really interesting. OpenAI building massive data centers, the quest for cheaper, more powerful AI chips. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi thriller.
It does have that feel, doesn't it? Here's the thing. These AI models we've been discussing, as advanced as they are, require a staggering amount of data and processing power to function. It's like building a high-performance race car. You need an equally impressive engine to unleash its full potential.
And Google wants to lead the pack, which is why they're investing so heavily in their own AI chips and data centers, even looking at things like nuclear power to meet the energy demands.
They're playing the long game. And if you read between the lines, there's a sense that this isn't just about keeping up. It's about anticipating a future where AI is as ubiquitous as electricity is today. But of course, with any major technological shift, there are concerns.
Especially when it comes to jobs, right? The article mentioned that Google's CEO made a pretty bold statement about AI potentially replacing a lot of programmers in our lifetime.
Yes, that comment certainly got people talking.
Yeah.
Some see it as an exaggeration, others as a necessary wake-up call. But it speaks to a larger anxiety about AI's role in the workforce.
Is this the beginning of the end for programmers as we know it? Or is it more nuanced than that? Let's dive into that right after this.
I mean, we're already seeing AI write code.
Right.
So are we headed towards a world where knowing how to code is like knowing Latin? Interesting, but not really necessary?
I don't think it's about replacing programmers entirely.
Okay.
It's more about changing how programming works, what it looks like. Like, AI can handle the repetitive stuff.
The tedious stuff everybody hates.
Exactly. Which frees up programmers to focus on the big picture stuff, the really creative problem solving.
So instead of spending hours debugging code, they're designing whole new systems.
Yeah,
And using AI as a tool.
exactly. It's all about humans and AI working together, playing to their strengths. And who knows, maybe we'll even see a bunch of new programming jobs we haven't even thought of yet. That's a good point. Every time technology changes how we do things, new possibilities pop up. But it sounds like you're saying AI isn't just a technology story, it's affecting all of us.
Absolutely. And these Google updates, the time machine, the time lapse, as cool as they are, they're just a glimpse of something much bigger.
It's a lot to process, that's for sure. So to recap for our listeners, We started with Google Earth's time machine, traveling back in time virtually.
Right. And we talked about how researchers are using it to track things like deforestation and climate change. And then there's the time-lapse feature, which is just mind-blowing.
And then we talked about AI, like Cloud Score Plus, which is great for anybody who's ever been frustrated by a blurry picture on Google Earth.
And then we got into the really big stuff.
Yeah, the race for more computing power, how AI might change the way we work, especially programmers. It's a lot to wrap our heads around. But that's what we do here at the Deep Dive, right? We help you navigate these fascinating changes.
And hopefully leave you with a few questions of your own. Speaking of which, I have one for our listeners to think about. If we can use AI to understand the past and present in these new ways, what will we do with that knowledge in the future?
Ooh, I like that one. It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.